Hi, I'm Alex Kidman from Fat Duck Tech, continuing my one-week look at the iPhone 6 Plus, Apple's larger of its 2014 iPhone models. Today was Monday, a busy working day, and the iPhone 6 Plus has certainly been busy working. But first of all, a couple of top-line observations. I'd forgotten, because I hadn't used it for a while, how good Apple's implementation of Touch Login, its Touch ID as it calls it, is. Now, this isn't a unique thing to the iPhone series. There are other smartphones you can get that use a fingerprint sensor, and of course they've been a factor in laptops for years now. But the simple fact of the matter is Apple does it better than anyone else. They really do. This thing works where every other smartphone that I have ever tested that's had a fingerprint sensor on it has been a bit of a fight. This is significantly better. My only observation there, I suppose, would be that it is a little bit of a pity that you can only enroll 5 fingers. It'd be nice if you could enroll all of them, and if you could enroll extra ones for if you had other security needs, but that's a minor kind of thing. Slightly more major observation, a couple of instances today where I nearly dropped the 6 Plus. Not because it's big, but because it's kind of slippery. This comes down really to those nicely rounded edges. They look beautiful. This is a beautifully finely designed piece of technology, but it's also a kind of slippery one. This one, of course, is not in a case. It would be a good idea, I would say, to get yourself a case for whichever iPhone you end up buying, because both this and, in fact, the 6 both have the same kind of rounded design, the same flat back, and that means that they are kind of slippery. Now, the main thing that I've been testing today, because it's the single thing that everyone asks about with the 6 Plus, aside from the screen size, is the battery. The 6 Plus, of course, has a larger battery than previous iPhones because it's got an awful lot more space to cram battery in. That means, of course, the battery lasts a lot longer. How long, I hear you ask? Well, that's a really difficult figure to name, and I have to explain why. Everyone's battery life figures for the iPhone 6 Plus at the moment are pretty dodgy, mine own included. Apple's included, because of course Apple will talk up to. Apple will always talk best case scenario, and every smartphone manufacturer does that, so that's nothing new. But my own are anecdotal, I don't deny that, and that means they're anecdotal based on my usage patterns. Your usage patterns could be different. I have seen tests where they've said, well, we ran a standardized suite that we run across all smartphones, and there's nothing wrong with that either, but that doesn't necessarily represent your usage pattern. Equally though, it doesn't get to the heart of the problem with anyone's battery life figures right now, and that's simply to do with the fact that the batteries in everyone's iPhone 6 Plus are brand spanking new. Because they're brand new, they're going to have the best figures possible. And if you're comparing them to a 5S that you bought last year, or even a 5 that you bought 2 years ago, yeah, this thing will outdo them, and I'll quite happily say on an anecdotal level that it has lasted me through every single day that I've used it without a problem, and often with more than 50% of the battery remaining. But the reality is that your 1 or 2 year old iPhone has a 1 or 2 year old battery in it. Unless you've recently replaced it, you're not really comparing like with like. So, although iPhones don't have the greatest history of battery life, and some of that has been to do with just the smaller size of the handset, some of that has been to do with certain applications. Facebook has notably been a pretty power-hungry little critter, and from looking at the battery monitor in iOS 8, that doesn't seem to have changed. But the reality is that while this will outlast an iPhone 6 in my own anecdotal testing, it's still really early days to say this is a battery that will last X hours, because there's no real way of determining that, because there's no standard way that everyone uses a phone. I haven't been using this, for example, for a great deal of phone calling, and I did allude to this when I started, that I was switching over to the iPhone 6 Plus as much as was feasible. The one area I haven't switched is I haven't chopped my micro SIM, sitting in an Android phone, in half to make it into a nano SIM. Okay, that kind of doesn't work unless you're very precise. But the effort and difficulty of porting numbers and so on for a nano SIM for 1 week was a little more than I was willing to do. Sorry about that. So calls in are not something I've been doing. I have been calling out from it, and it has the standard kind of profile of these large phones. You put a large slab of something up to your ear, you are aware that it's there. You feel kind of awkward, maybe not as awkward. I'm not even talking to anyone. Who's there? No one. I'm making that up. That aside, you feel a little bit awkward. You may feel less awkward than with a Bluetooth headset. That's totally up to you. But look, on the power front, if you're someone who absolutely hammers their iPhone and who constantly runs out of power and finds it a real nuisance, yeah, the 6 Plus scores pretty well on that basis, but then it should. It's got a lot of space for battery, and its battery is brand spanking new. Now, I answered that because it's just been a frequent question that people have asked me. I've had tweets, I've had comments on the YouTube videos. If you've got anything else you'd like to raise, please let me know. And if you'd like to subscribe, as always, I'd love you to.